fights with passion, and he inspires.
Are you ready for a war?
All right, welcome back to From 8 Arbitration. Got a long episode today. I've got a lot of stuff I'm going to go over. I'm going to end it with reading 1 hour from this route inspection book. It's going to take a long time. It is extensive, so I'm going to read 1 hour per week. I'll read an hour next Sunday, then an hour the next Sunday until we get done with this thing. But we have 6-day counts in full bore. Some already going on. Some are fixing to start happening. And so we're going to try to educate as much as possible on 6-day counts. I think that National is doing a terrible job as far as educating the city letter carrier. You have some business agents that are doing it, but we're doing a horrible job. We knew that we weren't going to renew these memos for the TRAP. We knew that wasn't happening. It was a disaster from the beginning. Renfroe knew that it was not going to be extended. He should have had his people say, get my carriers ready for 6-day counts. Even if you're not going through them, get my carriers ready for 6-day counts. That's what we're talking about, educating every single person. When the CLC takes over this union, we're going to make sure priority one first day, educate the city letter carriers on everything possible. Anything that could be coming up. What's happening in this region? Could it happen in this region? Make sure that every region is educated and ready for anything that comes up. And that's the thing that James Henry told me. Day one, the city letter carrier is going to be educated. They're going to be priority one. And we need that. We haven't had that in so long with this administration. And with current administrations, it's gotten more political. Money has taken over. The almighty dollar runs the union now, and it's no longer about the city letter carrier. And that's the thing that I'm so encouraged about with the CLC, is that James Henry has talked to me as the director of education and said, hey, day one, the city letter carrier is going to be educated about what's fixing to happen. That should have happened with these 6-day counts, and it didn't. And so we failed there, so we'll just do that on this podcast. Like I said, some regions are doing some good 6-day count training, and good for them. But every letter carrier should be educated on the 6-day count process, how to save minutes. I'm going to Ohio this week and doing some education on saving minutes, how to get minutes, because management is going to try to steal minutes from us. That's what they do. Whenever you look at the waiting time, they're trying to steal from us. We're trying to get minutes back. Legitimately. We're not trying to steal. We're trying to legitimately get minutes back, and that's what it comes down to, is minutes. And that's what I told my carriers when we were doing our 6-day count. Give me minutes. I need minutes. And so we'll do that. We'll educate you on this route inspection handbook from 2018. It's very good, very detailed. I'll just read an hour from that every week, all right? And we're going to educate you here. A lot of stuff. Now, remember, I have not mentioned this in the last few weeks, and that's on me, but Reddit, got about 6,000 members on there now. Get on Reddit, all right? Some great stuff going on, some controversial stuff. But the mods on there, the moderators on there are very good about kind of keeping that in check, and I give them full authority to do that. Some people get upset about it, saying that they're silencing them. It's not the case. He's not going to have people threatened and stuff like that, so you will be booted if they feel like that's become egregious. But they'll let you talk. And some great discussion going on Reddit, and I love that page. Discord, another one. Make sure you're getting on Discord. A lot of great conversations going on there. They have a lot of channels on Discord for grievance help. If you're looking for things that are very specific, they have a great channel on there on Discord. Also, a lot of great people on Discord. They do a fantastic job for me. And so, and I'm all about free speech. You know, get on there and say what you want to say, and I love it. From 8 Arbitration on Facebook, you got From 8 Arbitration, the From 8 Arbitration community. A lot of people are getting on that. That was started so people can get on there and talk, and a lot of people are getting on that. And so make sure you're getting on From 8 Arbitration, the community. and a lot of different stuff going on right now From 8 Arbitration. And that's encouraging to me because, like I said, when I started this, I was like, if I can just reach one person, if it helps them, it's well worth it. And we've reached quite a few. Was in Milwaukee last week. I'm sorry I didn't do an episode, but the CLC went to Milwaukee. We had a fantastic time speaking with that local branch. A lot of people drove in from different places, which was very encouraging. Had some drive from about 3 hours away to listen to us, and that was a fantastic thing. I did some educating there, went over Article 16, and then everybody just kind of introduced themselves. And so that was fantastic. Their president, Mr. Cozier, magnificent guy. He is absolutely phenomenal and was very courteous to us, and we really had a great time. But my props go out to Mr. Cozier, their branch president, a complete stud, and that dude has got it going on, and I look for his name to pop up on different things because he's that gifted. And so he really took care of us. It was first class. Got some other things I'm going to talk about that he sent me here in just a second. Got some discipline we're going to go over, some stationary event discipline. Anybody send me those, and I'm going to go over them here to kind of get people prepared that if you have something come up down the line, you'll kind of see where management's going with this stuff. And I'll give you some things to defend it. It's a shit show as far as national and business agents are concerned. They're not on the same page. We have got to be on the same page, a united front dealing with this stationary events. I showed y'all the things where headquarters is sending out attacking us on stationary events. They're trying to get this time back. They're not going to do their job in accordance with 134 of the M39 handbook, and we're letting them off the hook. We have a president who's asleep at the wheel. God, he can't get out of here fast enough. And I loved when Mr. Henry was on here and he said he's going to attack stationary events. I believe Mr. Caref did as well. You've got to attack that. You've got to attack it. It's the single greatest threat we have right now is stationary events. I mean, they're telling you what they're going to do. They're telling you they're coming after you. And we're just like, have no idea what to do nationally. You have a president who says it's an inconvenience. You have business agents that are completely clueless when it comes to this, and I'll talk about a little bit of that later. But we'll go over some discipline that was issued, and we'll talk about that. And I'm going to tell you again how to beat that. I have several episodes on how to beat it. And so the rallies going on today, fantastic seeing all the pictures coming in with all these rallies, bringing awareness to the city letter carrier's plight. Nothing better than that, to see the brothers and sisters active on the streets, making people aware of where we're at as far as the city letter carrier craft. They have no idea. I've got a guy on my route that talks to me when I'm delivering mail, and he asks questions all the time about the state of the postal service and doesn't believe it. I always say I could write a book about what goes on at the postal service. Nobody would believe it. Nobody would believe what's happening. And so it's great to see the city letter carrier in the street on these rallies, talking about bringing awareness to the city letter carrier's plight. And it is quite the conundrum we're in right now with national asleep at the wheel. Headquarters is full on attacking the city letter carrier. They've told us they're going to discipline the shit out of us this fall, and it's happening. They told us they're going to come in with the 6-day counts and they're going to take routes out. Regardless if the data shows it, headquarters is responsible for that. They're in conjunction with ops, and they are a unified front against the city letter carrier right now, and we're in shambles as far as the union is concerned. We have a president who doesn't give two shits about what's going on. He'll go to these different rap sessions and tell the same old stupid-ass story about one more week, soon on the contract, all this stupid-ass shit, and we are a failure as a union right now. Headquarters and ops are way ahead of the game on us as far as attacking us, and that's what this is. It's a full-on attack on the city letter carrier, and we have no clue about how to defeat that at the national level. The reason that is because you have a president right now who never fought a damn thing. He was never on this workroom floor long enough to experience any kind of turmoil or strife. He just wasn't. He was never in a battle like we're in right now. He was promoted because he's an eloquent speaker, and damn it, if that's the only requirement is to be smart, then that's like saying Albert Einstein would be a great president of the NALC, even though he's never worked here. You have got to have time on this floor. to understand where management's coming from and how to defeat that locally before you can go up nationally and understand how to defeat anything. Locally, you've got to be in these fights, the trenches, for some kind of extended period of time and actually have been in a fight. We have a president who's never done that, and that's the reason he is asleep at the wheel right now, because he has no idea how to fight. He has no passion. Anytime he stands up somewhere and tries to show passion, you can see that it's completely fabricated. It's all he can do. And so we're in and over our heads right now nationally as far as how to fight management at the headquarters level, ops level, labor level. You see Barner giving in to labor about cease and desist and things like that. There's another guy who's never been in a fight. Anybody that tells me they've been at the DRT and have had thousands of cases and never impassed one, if that's what I'm hearing, because a lot of people say that he'll get in these trainings and he said, hey, I was at the DRT, all these thousands of cases and never impassed a single case. That's a problem. That's a problem. That shows you somebody who is bending too much to labor. So you're telling me all these removals that ever came in, we won all those. You're telling me that all these non-compliance escalated monetary awards that came into you, they paid those. There has to have been some kind of concession, and any kind of concession hurts the city letter carrier. And so you got a president who's never been in a fight, who has no time on this workroom floor to understand what we're going through. An executive vice president whose claim to fame was, I never impassed a case at the DRT. You've got a vice president who has been stripped of all of his duties. What fucking good are we? What good are we doing right now? Instead of unleashing the hounds on these motherfuckers, we're stripping people from their duties. Our director of city delivery had his duties stripped. Instead of sicking the dogs on headquarters and labor and ops, we're stripping people of their responsibilities. You got two people at the fight at the top who couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag, stripping everybody else of their duties. We have people that are in positions that have never worked for the post office. You got a chief of staff who's never stepped foot on a workroom floor. Now you got Renfroe hiring her best friend as an attorney to him, who's never spent time on a workroom floor, just a personal fucking attorney. You know, it's a shit show right now, man. And the carrier is catching the full brunt of all of this. We are catching the full brunt. But we're going to keep educating right here until this new regime can take over. And when the new regime takes over, day one, things will change. Day one, the city letter carrier will be back at the top of the food chain. They will be put first again, and I promise you that. We will be transparent. I promise you that. Whatever position I'm in, every week I will do a podcast and tell you what's going on at the national level. Every single week. That's a promise from me to you. I've never made a promise I didn't keep. Every week I'll give a podcast and I'll tell you exactly what's going on at the national level. Every single one. We will be transparent because we work for you. You do not work for us. We have lost that along the way, where the city letter carrier is just some peasant. Keep giving me your money. Keep giving me your money. Y'all don't need to know what's going on. This contract is a perfect example. But anyway, I'll get into a little bit more ass here in just a bit. All right, going to give a couple of shout outs and then I'll get into this stationary event discipline, okay? Somebody said, hey, Corey, love what you do for us carriers and wish you the utter best. I was hoping you could give a shout out at your leisure to two of the baddest junkyard dogs in the union, Christine Stavesky and Leah Hudak, and I hope I got that name right. Christine Stavesky and Leah Hudak of Branch 40, Cleveland. These two have built a movement in one of the worst managed post offices in the region. We all listen to you and we all love you. So there's your shout out. And I do know Leah Hudak, she is an absolute beast. And so this other lady, Christine Stavesky, there's your shout out. Somebody telling you, hey, they love you and appreciate what you're doing. We don't get that near enough as shop stewards, right? Standing in the gap, that's what we've chosen to do. It's the least thankful job that you can have as a shop steward. Because most people don't even recognize what you're doing when you're behind the scenes fighting with these bastards And so there's you some love right there. That's absolutely awesome. So here's another. Hey, brother, I don't know if you can you do a shout out for National Advocate John Calloway on a future episode? He was at the Region 4 rap session. Never met the guy, but he trained us for 2 classes, Article 15 in depth, and your role in investigative interviews, and he is a fucking beast. I don't know if he listens to the podcast, but if you can give him a shout out, I would appreciate it. I wish we had more people like that to train us at events. Thank you. Yeah, John used to listen. I don't know if he still does, but he is a stud, and I know John well. He's a national advocate and is a straight beast. Like you said, we're lucky to have him as a national advocate. When you see him, he's very monotone. When you see him, he's all about the business, and so he's very, very intelligent. And he's about the business of educating and being the best advocate that he can be. And we're definitely lucky to have him. Absolutely. So there's your shout out for him. Also, make sure that you listen to Hot House with Richie Ray. Hot House with Richie Ray. He's got a podcast. His episode 12, Writing Effective Statements, Building Better Grievance Files. Any new shop steward, well, any shop steward really. The more that you can listen to, the more you educate yourself, the better you're going to be. We didn't have these things when I started out. I wish we did. We didn't have any of these things when I started out. So, Richie Ray, Hot House with Richie Ray, and if you know the guy, you love him. I talked about him on here before. Episode 12, Writing Effective Statements. Very good stuff there. Building Better Grievance Files. Great stuff there. There's another individual that started a podcast, and for some reason, I did not have that screenshot. You know who you are. Reach out to me again, please, and I apologize that I lost the screenshot. I've looked all day for that thing, and I've got 1,000 texts, and so I've been trying to go through my text to find it. I cannot find it, and I apologize. But there's another individual that started another podcast. Reach out to me this week, my brother, and I'll make sure that I get that on there next Sunday, okay? All right, let's get into this discipline. This is what was handed up. All right, another thing. Remember to get on from 8arbitration.com. From 8arbitration.com. You got the gentleman from Brookfield Uniforms, and is offering $100 off a full order, $150 for CCAs, plus 2 free shirts with a full order. And it's got his email, his phone number. Get on there and get your uniforms. If y'all don't know who to go to, this gentleman is a union fanatic. And if you ever talk to him, you'd fall in love with the guy. He's all about the union and about the city letter carrier. And so get on there, get your uniforms. Again, is John from Brookfield Uniforms is offering $100 off full order, $150 for CCAs, plus 2 free shirts with a full order. And so that link will be up there. And again, I don't get a penny from that guy. I met him when I was up in Brooklyn, told him that I would do that for him, all right, because I fell in love with the guy. He's a great personality and loves the city letter carrier. I got an arbitration award somebody sent me, and it was kind of good timing, but they had reached out prior, a while back, and were dealing with some issues and asked if I could help. Now, they already had their case file just about done, so I offered very little help. They did a fantastic job, and so to me as an advocate, the more the better. That's just how I've always been. I'd much rather have you have too much than not enough, because that not enough is what I'm going to need to win. And so whenever I put my case files together, if you look at JB's case files, very intricate, very thorough, and there's a lot of it. It covers a lot of things. As an advocate, I love that. I will never discourage anybody from putting everything they can in the case file, because as an advocate, when I get in there, if I don't need it, I won't use it. It's just that simple. If I got 500 pages and I only need 10, then I'm going to use 10 pages and leave the 490 out. You know, I'm just not going to address it. And so this gentleman, the advocate, for some reason was telling the carrier, the formula, hey, you know, you don't need so much. I would never tell anybody that. I would never tell anybody that their case file has too much. As a formal A, you do what makes you comfortable. You put your case file together how you feel comfortable. If you feel comfortable putting a lot of stuff in there, do that. Don't be discouraged by anybody for how you do your case files, unless you're not putting the right things in there. Then we'll talk. And I have no issue if I go to an arbitration and somebody has kind of half-assed it, didn't put a lot of stuff in there. I'll talk to them about it and say, hey, look, we got to do better. And so here's the award, and it was about a noncompliance, and this is a remedy-only case. And what a remedy-only case means is that both parties have agreed that there's a violation, whether it's an Article 8, whether it's a noncompliance of something. Both parties have said, yes, we agree that the Postal Service has violated these certain provisions. What we cannot agree on is the remedy. What the union's asking for is undue enrichment, as they would say. And the union's saying, hey, we're asking for this escalated monetary award because we've shown through the case file that it's become egregious, and now we are asking for an escalated monetary award because of the egregiousness of management's offense here, whether it be noncompliance of, like I said, Article 8. We've got a bunch of those. And so we're asking for an escalated monetary award. So they can't agree to the remedy. So the case will be a remedy-only case. They're going to say, we agree that there's a violation. We cannot agree to this remedy requested. So we're going to send this up to the arbitrator and let the arbitrator decide if the remedy is appropriate. So this case was a remedy-only case. And here's what it said. The DRT found the employer to be in violation of the contract and ordered inter alia that the employer cease and desist future violations of Articles 17 and 31 and schedule and meet an informal Step A and comply with prior Step B decisions. Now there you have an arbitrator saying that management will cease and desist. That's what pisses me off about Barner and about Renfroe, is their inability to get in front of labor when they're talking to us, our DRT, about cease and desist. We're not going to agree to a cease and desist anymore. Barner being a lapdog to labor and letting them do that. You've got to fight for that cease and desist. Arbitrators are going to give you a cease and desist. We have got to get back to fighting for the cease and desist. Another thing, and I hate to keep doing this, another thing that James Henry talks about with the CLC, when he's back in there, we will go after the cease and desist again. You want to talk about stopping noncompliance? All these issues with having with noncompliance, the carriers being destroyed right now with noncompliance of past grievance settlements. If you want to get that back under control, you have to start at ground zero. Step number 1, the cease and desist. If you're wanting to get noncompliance under control, you have got to get back to the cease and desist. That's how you build a case file for noncompliance. Then you'll get an arbitrator who will start giving escalated monetary awards. And then you keep going, and you keep going, and you keep going until you get like Lake Charles, where A.J. Bro, where he's telling, where he's getting carriers down there $1,000 per violation, whatever it is, $1,000 right off the jump. Like Arbitrator Roberts told management in a hearing, Arbitrator Roberts said, there is a number. There is a number that we will get to that will cause y'all to come into compliance. That's what he said in Lake Charles. He said, there is a figure, there is a number that will bring y'all into compliance. And let's see if this $1,000 will do it. Started out at 50. Got up to 1,000. It took a little time. But you will never get there if you tell management they do not have to cease and desist doing what they're doing. And that's the position that our union has taken with this regime we have in place now. With Barner saying, agreeing with labor, that they do not have to give a cease and desist. How devastatingly stupid that is to have that position. He should have been removed from his position doing that. It's harmed the city letter carrier. And anybody at the union at that level that harms the city letter carrier should be removed from their position. Just like Renfroe with these memos. Just like Renfroe with this HIP. He has harmed us because of his ignorance about the workroom floor and how it works. He should have been removed because of that ignorance. But it's lauded amongst these other business agents because they're just as incompetent and stupid as he is when it comes to the workroom floor. They've been out of that. They've lost touch with that, with the workroom floor, most of them. You have some that are straight up beasts. You have some, and thank God for them. But you have a lot that, and you'll see on social media, Renfroe will be at these different rap sessions, hugged up to the business agents that you know are his ass kissers that are damaging the city letter carrier. I got off on something there. But anyway, let's get back to this award. So the cease and desist, an arbitrator gave that. We've got to get back into that if we're going to stop noncompliance. That's the first step. The DRT declared impasse as to the remainder of the union's remedy requests. The undersigned order compliance with Articles 15, 17, and 31, the conducting of joint training at the Elizabeth, New Jersey installation concerning Article 15 procedures and responsibilities, and payment to the branch of $1,300 to compensate the union for the employer's failure to schedule and meet at informal Step A, to provide information requested by the union in a timely manner, and comply with Step B decisions. So, this arbitrator gave a cease and desist and also paid the branch $1,300. Now, do y'all remember what I was saying the other week about that poor gentleman who had all of his cases withdrawn because labor comes in and tells the business agent that payment to the branch is not an acceptable payment? And I said, if I'm the business agent, I would say, give me a list of what is proper and improper as far as payments on grievance settlements. Where is that list at in any handbook or manual? There's not one. That's why we always say, or whatever the arbitrator or DRT deems appropriate. That's the reason we say that, because an arbitrator can formulate whatever remedy they want to. If it's become egregious, Article 41 under opting tells us when things have become egregious, an escalated monetary award might be looked at to bring that back into compliance. Here's an arbitrator saying, I'm going to pay the branch $1,300. You got business agents being duped by labor about paying the branch, saying that's an improper payment, we're not going to pay that. Well, hell, let me just withdraw all these. You damage the city letter carrier when you listen to labor. Remember, rule number one when dealing with labor is fuck labor. That's rule number one. That should be the rule number one from national all the way down to the workroom floor shop steward. When you go into any setting with labor, remember rule number one, fuck labor. You can deal with labor, you can talk with labor, you can work with labor, but always remember rule number one, fuck labor. Why? Because labor is in there to fuck the city letter carrier. Headquarters and labor and ops right now are attacking the city letter carrier more than any time I can remember. The letter carrier is under attack. We need our union to go on the offensive, and we are not. We're withdrawing cases because labor says that is not an appropriate remedy. And you have arbitrators giving the same damn remedy. We're withdrawing cases because labor says, hey, arbitrator Nolan said that stationary events isn't covered under working conditions, wages, and hours. Labor is running the NALC right now. You got a executive vice president who's being run over by labor. We're no longer going to give cease and desist. And his just a little puppet in those meetings, we're no longer going to give cease and desist. That's my executive vice president. Labor is running the union right now. And thank God that we take these to hearing so that an arbitrator can say, hey, that's not an inappropriate remedy. It's very appropriate. All right, let's get to this discipline. This first one is a letter of warning given for stationary events. All right, and I'm going to talk to you about this one, and then there's also a removal on stationary events because Like I said, they're after us for stationary events. They've whittled us down to nothing in the office. They've succeeded. We've not combated that at all. Talking about certifieds in the DPS, that's something that they've taken from us, taking office time. They're trying to whittle down our fixed office time. We've not educated the carrier about that. Everything that they can possibly do to beat us out of the office. You're talking about an hour office time to whittle us down in the office. Some have succeeded, some have not. We did not do a good job nationally educating the carriers as far as that. We tried our best here on From 8 Arbitration to deal with all of these things. Red line policies, 5-minute PM office time. From 8 Arbitration, we've tried to defeat that as much as we can because we saw it coming here. Management attempting to take our office time from us. So everything I could think of to help out the city letter carrier on this podcast, I've done. I've exhausted every avenue and every resource to make the carrier more educated as far as the office. I've done an episode on certifieds in the DPS. We've done episodes on red line policy, 5-minute PM office time, an hour office time, 22-minute load times. All of those things, we've tried to beat that to death here on From 8 Arbitration because we could see it coming. I had JB give one of the best episodes ever on those things. Pet, DOAS, 3996. To try to get the carrier educated on what's coming. Here's stationary events. Now they're after us on the street. Street management under 134, they're circumventing that, and we're allowing them to do that with this bonehead president we've got. But here's the letter of warning. It says charge unsatisfactory performance. Now remember all these things. Charge unsatisfactory performance. Now, how do we gauge performance? That'd be rule number 1. When I make my list, when I get a list as a shop steward, and I get my notepad, and I go through this discipline, I'm writing down things that management's going to have to answer to. So the charge is unsatisfactory performance. How do we gauge performance? That'd be the first thing I put down on my list. Management has an obligation on how they gauge performance. The Postal Service utilizes GPS technology. Now remember me what I'm reading right here. I'm going to read a stand-up to you that I read just a bit ago. The Postal Service utilizes GPS technology for multiple purposes. It offers real-time updates for the customers and provides hazard and amber alerts for delivery employees. It also allows for real-time two-way communication between management and the letter carrier. The system continually identifies the letter carrier locations and records periods of inactivity by indicating instances where multiple breadcrumb pings are occurring at the same location. Managers also benefit from this technology as it allows them to track the location of every employee using a scanner, which assists them with supervising delivery and performance expectations. Now, National should have jumped all over that. They should have jumped all over that. And they should have sent out a template. This is how management must gauge performance. It cannot be by the scanner. You're talking about M1458. MSP data cannot be the sole determinant for discipline. Should have handed that out. Long ago when the metrics came out, our office time and stationary events. I read that years ago, whenever that came out. Those metrics, our office time, stationary events. National should have got their best minds together and said, this is something happening nationally. Get on the ball. Get this into every shop steward's hands in the country. How we're going to defeat an hour office time. There's no such thing. And how we're going to attack stationary events. Again, when the CLC takes over, these things will happen. I promise you that. I will make sure of it myself. That every shop steward in the country will have something in their hand within a week of something like this coming out. Within a week of that memo coming out, stating that they had these metrics. Our office time, stationary events, we're going to attack the city letter carrier on these. Within a week, there should have been something in every shop steward's hands how to defeat those things. We didn't see a damn thing. Now, you had Eddie Davidson firing their asses up on it. I don't know of anybody else, but so you have some business agents that are still being dogs out there and not kissing this motherfucker's ass. But anyway, we've just dropped the damn ball, and I'm going to talk about that again in just a second. So I'm going to read that again, then I'm going to read you the stand-up talk that I read 2 weeks ago. The Postal Service utilizes GPS technology for multiple purposes. It offers real-time updates for customers and provides hazard and amber alerts for delivery employees. It also allows for real-time two-way communication between management and the letter carrier. The system continually identifies the letter carrier locations and records periods of inactivity by indicating instances where multiple breadcrumb pings are occurring at the same location. Managers also benefit from this technology as it allows them to track the location of every employee using a scanner, which assists them with supervising delivery and performance expectations. I'm going to read this stand-up talk that I read the other day. Here's stand-up talk. Mandatory stand-up talk to all city carriers, supervisors, managers, and postmasters. As information, the mobile delivery MDD scanner utilizes an Android operating system and operate on the same global positioning system, GPS system, as the latest smartphones. According to www.gps.gov, the U.S. government commits to broadcasting the GPS signal in a space with a global average rate user range error of 6 feet, with 95% probability across all healthy satellites and constellation slots. On April 20th of 2021, the global average URE across all satellites was 2 feet, 95% of the time. The Postal Service uses this GPS technology to provide real-time updates for customers, hazards, and amber alerts. Did that sound familiar? They kind of copied and pasted that onto that letter warning, didn't it? For our delivery employees, and to provide managers with the ability to communicate and observe the location of every employee using a scanner. That sounds familiar too. To ensure compliance with delivery and in performance expectations. During delivery duties, all carriers must always carry their MDD TR scanner on their person, lunch, restroom excluded. So they just copied and pasted their stand-up talk onto this letter warning. Now I said back when, I know it's an instruction, the carrier scanner on you at all times. If they were put in here for package delivery, which is what we were initially told, then you have these memos coming in stating that both parties will question you about stationary events, which is the all-time dumbest thing ever. To ever let a carrier be questioned about anything they do on the street without going out there and seeing them on the street, that completely violated 134 of the M39 handbook. And we were hand in hand with labor doing that. I will never agree to anything like that. If I was to write a memo, I would never agree that the city letter carrier can be tracked and questioned based off of anything. I'm not that fucking stupid. That should have never happened. If management had issue and they brought issue to me as whatever position and said, we've got issues with carriers being stationary, we're not going to put that in a route adjustment process because we're not going to use these work-hour workload reports or whatever because we have issues with stationary events. It's soaking up a lot of time. I would say, show me the 4584s that y'all have done to correct that behavior. Show me, in accordance with 134, how many of your managers nationwide have accompanied carriers on the street to fix that. If you've not done it, then you've accepted it. And if you've accepted it, that's how it's going to go into this memo, is we're going to go by the work-hour workload reports. If you've not done the first damn thing to correct that behavior, don't come to me as the president or executive vice president or the director of city delivery or whatever position that dumbass was in when he signed it. If you've not done the first damn thing to correct it, do not come to me with that problem. It is not up to the union to help you. And that's exactly what we did. when we put into a memo that both parties can track us and question us about things we do on the street and have us answer to that in front of management right there. How humiliating and debilitating is that? How overwhelmingly stupid is that? To have a carrier sit in front of management and both parties question them about things they do on the street. Stationary time. What a complete fool would put that into a memo. You do not ever put a carrier in that position. How humiliating is that? Anyway, keeps on. Upon thorough examination of all applicable data, including investigatory interview, the following infractions have been identified. Street break number 1 at this address. This address is an approved break location and is listed on the PS Form 1564A. On this day, this would be considered your lunch. This lunch break was extended by 10 minutes. When questioned during the I&I regarding your failure to adhere to your approved break time, when questioned during the I&I about this lunch break extension, you stated you did not extend your lunch break. Street break number 2 at this location for 11 minutes. At this location is not an approved break location and is not listed on PS Form 1564A. On this day, this would be considered your second break. On this day, you did not request approval to change the location of your break. This break was extended by 1 minute. When questioned during the I&I about this break extension, you stated that is not accurate. Street break number 3 at this location for 16 minutes or 15 minutes. This address is not an approved break location and is not listed on PS Form 1564A. On this day, this would be considered your second break. On this day, you did not request approval to change the location of your break. This break was extended by 5 minutes. When questioned during the I&I about this break extension, you stated that you don't deliver to that street. That would seem like a pretty reasonable answer. I don't deliver to that street. During the investigative interview, which was conducted with you and your union representative, you acknowledged your awareness of your locations for breaks and lunches. When I asked you if you understood that employees are expected to perform their duties conscientiously and objectively, you said yes. You affirmed your understanding that employees are expected to conduct themselves during and outside of working hours in a manner that reflects favorably upon the Postal Service. Now, that has nothing to do with what we're dealing with. When they talk about 665, and that's what that is, employees are expected to conduct themselves during and outside of working hours in a manner that reflects favorably upon the Postal Service. I'm going to ask them how that applies. Right? They can't answer that. That's just something that dumbass labor has put in a damn letter of warning. Because it doesn't apply to us. It doesn't apply to this. Now, if I was drinking while I was out on break, extending break, and fell out of the vehicle, that would not look favorably upon the Postal Service. But something you can't prove I'm doing, something that I say I didn't extend it, I don't deliver that, how can you prove that anything that I did was unfavorable? You can't prove that I was doing anything wrong. You can prove that the the scanner, according to you, wasn't pinging, but you cannot prove that I was not working. And how you would do that is to get up off your fat, lazy ass and come out there on the street and see me not working. Goes on. You were present for service talks related to authorized lunch and break locations, as well as expansion, extra breaks, and the requirement to carry your scanner during delivery. Yet on September 18th, you took 3 breaks totaling 66 minutes. On September 18th, you failed to follow management's instructions that you're only authorized 2 breaks that must be taken at locations authorized on your PS Form 1564A and are not to exceed 10 minutes. You also failed to follow management's instructions that you are to carry your scanner while delivering. While you stated that you did not extend your lunch break, I find this answer does not mitigate your requirement to take breaks and lunches at authorized locations. Furthermore, I find your answers do not mitigate your requirement to conduct yourself properly. As such, your conduct was improper. Your actions are in direct conflict with the following excerpts. Employee and Labor Relations Manual, 665.13, discharge of duties. Make sure they're asked about that in the investigative interview. 665.15, obedience to orders. Make sure they're asked about that. 665.16, behavior and personal habits. Make sure they're asked about that. None of those apply. Handbook M41, city delivery carries duties and responsibilities. 112.25, be prompt, courteous, and obliging in the performance of duties. Attend quietly and diligent to work and refrain from loud talking and the use of profane language. Now, how does that apply? 112.29, return to the delivery unit immediately upon completion of assigned street duties and promptly clock in on arrival. Motorized carrier unloads his vehicle and then immediately records returning time. Now, how did I violate that? And then you can't read the other one. So there's a letter of warning based solely off of stationary events, right? We're going to talk about that after I get with this removal. So here's the notice of removal. You're hereby notified that you'll be removed from the Postal Service no sooner than 30 calendar days from your receipt of this notice. If a timely grievance is initiated, the effective date of the removal will be determined at such time as a timely grievance protesting the propriety of the subject removal has been heard and adjudicated at the Step B dispute resolution team level of the modified Article 15 process, negotiate between the Postal Service and the National Association of Letter Carriers. Wow. Charge, unacceptable conduct, extending street time. So unacceptable conduct, extending street time, right? And that charge is different from the other, right? On 8/19, you're assigned to case and carry route 23. An analysis of the stationary time report and route 23 scanner indicated that you had 7 incidents where you were stationary for time totaling 2 hours and 10 minutes. And then it has the date and the location, I guess, and then the times. An investigative interview was held on 8/22/24. When asked if you signed the no lunch list on the day in question, you said yes. When asked if you took a lunch, you said no. When initially questioned as to why you had 7 incidents of stationary time on 8/19 totaling 2 hours and 10 minutes, you stated you didn't remember or didn't know. Your actions cannot be tolerated or condoned. You cannot be on the clock getting paid for not working. And y'all remember the scanner message. Any stationary time, we're going to deduct that pay. You had that happen down in southern Louisiana where they're actually putting us in for deducting our time. You had management give us an investigative interview, right, telling us that we owed them $300 or they were going to issue us discipline. Remember that? You're either going to pay this $300, you're going to get this discipline for stationary time because you weren't working. All based off of a scanner. All based off of a scanner. If this sitting still, if there's nothing happening, you're not working and we're going to take that money from you. So what they're saying is you constantly have to be in motion. You constantly need to be moving. From the time you walk in the door, you need to be moving until the time you clock off. That is management's position. Now, you got the laziest group of motherfuckers ever in supervisors and managers. They sit on their fat, lazy asses all day long and don't do shit. But what they will expect from you is robotic type behavior. From the time you clock in to the time you clock out, you need to be in constant movement. You don't need to take 1 second to do anything. It's going to get to where they're going to say, we're going to give you a bag to piss and shit in on your route so that you're constantly moving. And your president will probably side with that. He'll probably say, that's a great idea. Because he's in bed with these motherfuckers. And don't even ask the executive vice president, Ponyboy would probably agree to it and say, hey, the union should buy the bags. And so we're fucked as far as that's concerned until we can get a new regime in there. But you have management telling us that they're going to give us discipline if we don't pay them money for stationary events. You have them sending scanner messages saying that you're not working, so we're going to deduct that from you. You have them filling out forms deducting our pay. We're having to catch them doing that. You got discipline being issued stating that you cannot be on the clock getting paid for not working. All of these things based off of a scanner. And whatever happened to Section 134 of the M39 handbook during all of this? You have a bonehead president that put it in the memos that we can be watched and tracked. That's where all this is coming from. You got a an area vice president at the time saying these metric stationary events, we did not jump all over that. You got removals, discipline now coming out, trying to get back these 9 million hours. Here's the problem. You've got Renfroe that put it in these memos about the GPS, about stationary events, that we can be questioned based off the scanners. Then when he was on my episode, he talks about how wonderful these scanners are. And people are saying, hey, I can be at a door and it can say I'm 600 feet away. But the fact, that doesn't apply to this technology. This is different. These things are so accurate. They're so accurate that we're going to do route evaluations based off of these scanners. That's your president's position. Then people start bitching about, hey, they're watching us on the street with scanners. They're not doing their job in accordance with 134. We've allowed them to circumvent 134 of the M39 handbook by keeping their fat, lazy, stupid asses in a chair all day and watching us. Well, that's an inconvenience. That's not a grievance. That's an inconvenience to you, to be tracked and watched and bullied and harassed. Those things aren't grievances. Those are inconveniences. You got dumbass business agents like mine saying that they're going to draw cases based off of spying and using covert techniques because labor has punked us out. Talking about Nolan. You got the CAU. I read that to you last week. The CAU coming out with their stationary event thing in the postal record that talks about all the issues with the scanners. How they're not reliable, how the MDD device will show different things when it's not happening. In complete contrast to the president. The president says it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's so good we're going to evaluate your routes based off of it. You got the CAU coming out, and they say there are a variety of reasons why a letter carrier and their MDD may be recorded as stationary. For example, the MDD may be recorded as stationary. For example, the MDD might not register as moving if the carrier is servicing a centralized mail location or cluster box unit. Perhaps the MDD isn't moving because the carrier is picking up parcels or fueling the vehicle. Electronic stationary time could be recorded while the carrier is on their break or lunch or is replenishing mail. The MDD may be inactive when the carrier is using a comfort stop to recover and hydrate from the heat. Stationary time in and of itself is not a violation of any handbook or manual. The absence of movement of the MDD does not mean the carrier is not working. MDD connectivity also can affect the reliability of the GPS and breadcrumb data obtained. Like a cell phone, the MDD sends and receives information including GPS data when connected to a cellular network. Also, like cell phones, walls, vehicle roofs, tall buildings, mountains, and other obstructions can interfere with the scanner's connection to the network. This could affect how accurately the scanner records the movement and positioning of the device. Additionally, extreme weather, inaccurate mapping, and insufficient cellular service can have an impact on the accuracy of GPS and breadcrumb data. A malfunctioning or dead battery also can negatively affect how accurate the MDD communications over the cellular network. GPS data and any associated reports must always be reviewed and for errors. Any perceived time-wasting practices alleged against city letter carriers will be documented with an actual street observation. So, any perceived time-wasting practices alleged against city carriers should be documented with actual street observations. So here's the CAU at National telling you all the issues that we have with the scanner. You have the president of the NALC putting that the scanner is so accurate that we're going to use it for our new route adjustment process. And the carriers can be jointly interviewed and questioned based off of stationary events. Where in the fuck does the city letter carrier go? Then I hear this week that business agents in a certain region, one of the biggest kiss asses to this president, their business agents also saying that M1458, y'all remember that one? Talking about MSP data cannot be the sole determinant for discipline. Y'all remember when I read that? M1458, the parties agree that management will determine the number of scans on a city delivery route. The time credit will continue to be given during route count and inspections and will be credited in total street time. MSP does not set performance standards. What about those stand-up talks we're talking about? What about the letter of warning? Said for performance, right? What about the other one where it talks about the stand-up talk that says observe the location of every employee using a scanner to ensure compliance with delivery and performance expectations? That was a stand-up, right? That was also in that letter of warning. But you got 1458 that says MSP does not set performance standards, either in the office or on the street. With current technology, MSP records of scan times are not to be used as time card data for pay purposes. MSP data may not constitute the sole basis for disciplinary action. However, it may be used by the parties in conjunction with other records to support or refute disciplinary action issued pursuant to Article 16 of the National Agreement. So they're telling you MSP data may not constitute the sole basis for disciplinary action. And that's what we use. And you have the CAU forgetting to put that into their postal record, into that thing that they wrote. You got business agents saying that 1458 does not apply because it deals with MSP. That's how far we have fallen as a union, how ignorant we have become. You got a president that thinks they're the greatest thing that's sliced bread, and any repercussions off of the scanners is just an inconvenience to you. You got the CAU coming out telling you all the issues that we have with the scanner. You got business agents saying that 1458 does not apply because it deals with MSP, and then you got the greatest thing ever. You got an email from Eastern Area Labor Relations Specialist, Jill Menard. And this is what she states, and this is on one of my episodes. I was informed by headquarters that as of Monday, 6/17, union has been notified that the devices that include GPS capabilities are now turned on. That's what we're dealing with here. Listen to what she says. In regards to disciplining in employees, it's the same as with MSP, GPS and LLVs, etc. They should not be the sole basis in issuing discipline. The GPS capabilities in the new scanner cell phones are simply a tool for management. For example, if management identifies something through GPS, then they should be physically going out and observing it. If discipline has been issued prior to notification or as the sole basis, I'm advising you, you may want to revisit the discipline that was issued. And you've got business agents that are so fucking stupid. They're saying that 1458 doesn't apply because it's based off of MSP. That's how damn stupid we've become. You got a fucking idiot as a president that's saying that this shit is an inconvenience. You got CAU saying all these issues with the scanners in direct conflict or contradiction to the president, forgetting to put 1458 in their article. And here the smartest one is fucking labor. The smartest one of all of them is labor. She says in regards to disciplining employees, it's the same as with MSP. The shit that business agents said didn't apply. We are so fucked right now as a union because of the ignorance of our leaders. 2 years can't get here fast enough. The first thing we're going to do is attack this shit here. It is going to be a damn free-for-all when we get in there. I'm telling you, rabid fucking dogs are going to be set loose on headquarters, labor, all this shit. The city letter carrier will be first and foremost once again. This shit right here shouldn't be happening. You shouldn't have business agents saying 1458 doesn't apply because it deals with MSP. And you got a damn area labor specialist telling you it applies because of MSP. God bless. And we got people being disciplined and removed. Business agents don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. CAU forgetting to put the most critical thing into their article. A president who is out of the fucking game. Let's get back to this removal. This is taking too long, but it pisses me off. It says again, you cannot be on the clock getting paid for not working, which is complete ignorance. Management is responsible for keeping you gainfully employed. Therefore, you will be assigned work, pivot, undertime, downtime on other routes to ensure you have 8 hours of work for 8 hours of pay. Article 34 of the National Contract states the principle of a fair day's work for a fair day's pay is recognized by all parties to this agreement. In addition, the Postal Operations Manual, POOM, Section 645.2, now make sure I was asked about that in the investigative interview, states that pivoting, undertime, downtime is not limited to periods when mail volume is light and when absences are high, but also can be utilized throughout the year for maintaining balanced carrier workloads. Also, Handbook M39, Section 242. Handbook only take authorized breaks. Handbook M39, Section 242, take breaks at authorized locations. Handbook M39, Section 242, 2 10-minute breaks will be separate. Handbook M39, Section 242, do not extend breaks or lunch. Handbook M41, Section 112.1 states, provide reliable and efficient service. Handbook M41, Section 112.27 states, do not engage in any time-wasting practices. Handbook M41, Section 112.29, return to delivery unit immediately on completion of street duties. Handbook M41, Section 131.31, do not deviate from your route for meals or other, and it was cut off. Handbook M39, Section 125, carriers are required to follow their authorized lines of travel at all times. Your unacceptable conduct is in violation of the following provisions of the Employer and Labor Relations Manual. 665.11, loyalty. Employees are expected to be loyal to the United States government and uphold the policies and regulations of the Postal Service. 665.13, discharge of duties. Employees are expected to discharge their assigned duties conscientiously and effectively. 665.15, obedience to orders. 665.16, behavior and personal habits. Cooperation in investigations. Employees must cooperate in any postal investigation, including Office of Inspector General investigations. Now, you can beat it just on that alone, to me, because you have to prove the charge. If you're going to put 50 charges in there on me saying I violated every single one of these provisions, and I've won this in arbitration before, you're going to have to show how I didn't cooperate in an investigation. I sat there and answered every question. Now, how did I not cooperate in an investigation? You cited that against me in a notice of removal. Remember Arbitrator Wallet, she said everything in that removal must be accurate and true if it's to be for just cause. You have cited cooperation in investigations. You're going to have to prove to the arbitrator how I did not cooperate in an investigation, because that's something you charged me with. So there's a good one for you. As a postal employee, you're required to conduct yourself in a manner which reflects favorably in the postal service. You cannot prove I didn't do that. The following elements were taken into consideration in making this decision. 7-day suspension issued on 5/26 for failure to maintain a regular work schedule has nothing to do with this removal. Another 7-day suspension for failure to maintain a regular work schedule has nothing to do with this removal. A 14-day suspension issued 7/1 for unacceptable conduct, extending street time. I need to see the disposition of that. If this action is overturned on appeal, back pay will be allowed unless otherwise specified, and then it's signed. So there you have a removal based off of stationary events, GPS data. You have the union with no position whatsoever. They're all over the damn place. And that's the reason we need a new regime, because we're going to say this is universally how we're going to attack stationary events. This is the template we're going to use in every single case. Every business agent will be given this same template. It will be handed down to every branch president. The branch president will hand it to every shop steward. These are the answers to the investigative interview we were working. It's management's obligation to prove guilt. It's not our obligation to prove innocence. Management has a requirement under Section 134 of the M39 handbook to get their fat, greasy, lazy asses out of that chair and go out on the street and observe us, just like area labor said they must do. You cannot use MSP as the sole determinant for discipline. 1458 talks about that, and that's corroborated by the area labor specialist, Miss Jill Menard. Contrary to what our dumb fucking business agents are saying about it, they're putting us in jeopardy because of their ignorance. Their inability to pull their head out of this motherfucker's ass is putting us in jeopardy. So, on day one, we will have a task force that what you will do is you will make sure that we have national templates ready for every single region. Should have been done years ago. It's not because we're failures. Every single business agent will have a template. This is how you will deal with stationary events, and you will attack stationary events. You will go on the offensive with these dumb fuckers in management. You will go after labor. In every meeting that you're in, whether it's that the president, the executive vice president, the vice president, the director of city delivery, whoever, you will go after labor. We are sick and tired of the city letter carrier being the brunt of this shit that they're doing right here. They are after us at every level. They have told us that. Headquarters, ops, labor has said that the letter carrier, they're in full season. We're going after them. And what has the union done? Not a damn thing. To me, you have got to meet these motherfuckers in the street. That's what I said. You've got to be the alpha in that room again. We have got to get junkyard dogs back in this union. It's so funny, and I always say this, you put the city letter carrier first and everything else will fall into place. Everything else will fall into place. If you put the city letter carrier first, everything else be damned. The Postal Service be damned. I don't care about the financial position of the Postal Service. All that thing is smoke and mirrors. Those are hidden numbers because they have so much fat in the Postal Service with all these extra managers and supervisors and all these ops. If you go into ops tomorrow and walk into their office, there'll be 20 people in ops. And I promise you this, every single one of them will have their feet on the desk looking at their phone. Every single one. I went to go see a good friend of mine in ops when I was in arbitration. He had been removed, taken some other state, had come back, he was in ops, and I went in there to see him. Every single one in there had their feet on the desk, looking at their phones. I went there to talk to him. He was playing golf on his phone. That's no lie. Yet they will put things into existence that make the carrier constant movement from the time they come in to the time they leave. Nothing is less acceptable. We'll accept nothing less than the carrier being in constant movement. You will answer to every single second of your day. And you got these lazy bastards sitting at a desk, looking at their phones with their feet propped up. You got management, if you go in there, the only time they will ever incur an injury is if their fat ass falls out of their chair. That's it. But the city letter carrier is held to a different standard. And I'm going to show you something here in just a second what I'm talking about. The city letter carrier is held to a different standard. Why? Because we allow it to happen. As national, we should be on the attack. However, we have to do it at whatever setting. You got to be smarter how you handle non-compliance. And with things like I'm fixing to read you got to be smarter as well. Now, I told you that we went to Milwaukee, the CLC. We did some training, kind of introduced ourselves. It was a fantastic time. The branch president, Mr. Cozier, he sent me something about management falsifying clock rings, editing clock rings, falsified it. And they had contacted the senator. And they had sent in this stuff asking for help. So the senator reaches out, and here's the OIG. This is their report. This is what they state to the senator. Now, remember, this is supposed to be a neutral party, which they're not. They're always in bed with management, just like our national is. Everybody's in bed with management. And the city letter carrier has been left abandoned. We're on our own. There's a few shining lights There's a few that said, hey, we're fixing to take this back over. But until then, the city letter carrier is on our own. We're abandoned. And here's what we have. The Honorable Tammy Baldwin, United States Senator from Milwaukee. Dear Senator Baldwin, this responds to your recent inquiry to the U.S. Postal Service Office of Inspector General on behalf of National Association of Letter Carriers to President Rob Cozier regarding an employment-related issue. Your inquiry was recently forwarded to this office for a response. I appreciate your interest in assisting Mr. Cozier in this matter. We contacted Wisconsin District Human Resources and Labor Relations officials who reported that they have no evidence of the allegations raised in Mr. Cozier's correspondence. As Mr. Cozier is aware in his role with the NALC, he and other postal employees have access to several appeal forms through which he can address any difficulties he may encounter in this employment. From discrimination to issues involving the interpretation of rules, the perception of offensive behavior or adverse management actions. Our forms include the grievance arbitration procedures as established by the national agreements with the postal unions, the Employee Assistance Program, the Equal Employment Opportunity Complaint Process, and appeal to the Merit System Protection Board. A number of these forms offer a level of appeal to an arbitrator or administrative judge who is independent of the U.S. Postal Service. This gives employees and their representatives the opportunity to present any evidence in support of their position and receive an impartial hearing. Thank you for writing. If I can be of assistance in other matters, postal matters, please let me know. Sincerely, Director of Government Liaison. And then here's what Travis Albert, Vice President of NALC Branch 2 State, he came back with this. What kind of investigation fails to reach out to the victim or the accuser? Hits him square in the ass right there. Travis Albert, right in the ass. What kind of investigation fails to reach out to the victim or the accuser? They reached out to the perpetrator. Shameful situation, simply shameful. We are utilizing the grievance procedure as referenced by the OIG. The case has been appealed to the second step of the grievance procedure. Grievances concern principally contract violations. While the contract does include legal matters, this issue is far greater than the run-of-the-mill overtime distribution violation or improper discipline. It's manipulation of clock rings resulting in wage theft, unpaid labor. Are there no laws protecting our members from wage theft? Or do laws only apply to one class of people? If a letter carrier stole from management, they'd be prosecuted, at minimum fired, and rightfully so. This nation is lost. And that was the reply. And it couldn't have been more spot on. And I've talked about the double standard forever. And I told you about the case that we were dealing with when JB, we caught the manager clocking CCAs out while they're still delivering mail. Now, here you have CCAs that were working till like 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night, and a manager, station manager, clocking them out at like 3 o'clock. They're out there for like 3 or 4 hours, not being paid, had no idea. We had to catch them. They didn't come clean to us. We had to catch them. It goes to arbitration. And you've got labor coming in there telling JB and I, this manager is done. He's packing up his office right now. We issued him a 7-day suspension for theft, for stealing. We requested that. Never got it. But he's done. He's packing up his office right now. He'll never be in management again. Do you know that guy today is the MCSO of Nashville? He's the MCSO of Nashville. That's the double standard. JB reached out to the postmaster after the hearing when they went in there and lied to the arbitrator and said that he got a 7-day suspension. The arbitrator believed him. And the postmaster said, no, he did not get any discipline. So they lied to the arbitrator. He got no discipline for stealing from the city letter carrier. Now, you had a city letter carrier here, and I'm sure everybody saw it was on the news. He's dumping his mail into a dumpster. He's just dumping all of his shit in a dumpster. He was prosecuted and is going to probably go to jail because it was something against the employer. They will prosecute that. If a carrier does something against the employer, we will be prosecuted. If the employer does something against the employee, he won't get so much as a slap on the wrist. We beg for cease and desist when management falsifies our clock rings. When they steal from us, we beg for a cease and desist. I had that episode where I went on that crazy-ass rant where my friend got her purse stolen by management. The manager stole her purse and all of her union files, took them home, discarded the purse, rifled through the purse, threw it away, threw all of her union files away. Postal inspectors come in and investigate her. She lies to them, lies to the federal agents now, which they always try to get us for, lied to the federal agent, then came back and had to come clean. And we got a cease and desist on that in a pre-arb. Why is there such a double standard between us and management? Why is it that they can steal from us? Because they don't respect us. Our union doesn't respect us enough. Do you know what I would do if I was at National? I would get every one of those together, and I would put every single one of them on our website and say, here's the names of the thieves that are working for the Postal Service. Manager so-and-so out of this is a thief. He stole from us. Every single one of them would be humiliated. I would go to every newspaper that I knew, and I would tell them this is what's happening in the Postal Service. You have thieves that have been found guilty in arbitration of stealing, and this is their names. I would go to Congress and Senate, and I would put every single one of those files together, and I say, this is what the city letter carrier is dealing with, thieves. I would take that same file to labor if I was working against across the table from them about this, and I say, here are thieves. What are you going to do about it? And I would record their answer in minutes, and I would send that out to every fucking shop steward in this country and say that this person that I work with across the table, I handed him these things, and I said, here is your employees, employer, in management that are stealing from the city letter carrier, like this one here in Milwaukee, that are stealing from us. What are you going to do about it? Well, it looks like it's run the process. I didn't ask you that. What are you going to do about it as far as internally? What's the discipline going to be issued? Are you going to remove them from supervising because they're stealing? Well, no, we let it run the process. Put that in every file. At some point, this double standard has got to end. What is DeJoy's position on him having a bunch of thieves working for the Postal Service? I'd like to know. I'd like to talk to question him. And I say, what is your position about a thief working for the Postal Service? You know what's going to come to his mind? The city letter carrier. Because that's how they think. I think they should be fired. You think somebody that's stealing from the Postal Service should be fired? I think they should be fired. Because in his mind, he's going to be thinking that's the city letter carrier you're talking about. In his mind. And I'm going to say, well, you got these managers. Well, you know, we have a process that we're going to go by there. This process is, y'all have a form, the grievance arbitration procedure. That's not what I'm asking about. What are you going to do about it? Because you just said that you would fire an employee. Well, it's because it's city letter carrier. But a manager does it, nothing. You see this stupid-ass comment from whoever this person was in the Postal Service. Well, they have a form. If we steal from them, there's a form that they can go to. We can steal from them with no repercussion. Why? Because the city letter carrier is a second-class citizen to the employer. It's a second-class citizen. They will make sure that every second of our day is monitored and questioned. We better be moving every fucking second of the day, or we will be questioned either through a route adjustment process or an investigative interview. M39-134, be damned. We're going to allow management to be lazy fucks like they are and not go out there and do what they're required to do. They can steal from us. They can belittle us, humiliate us, berate us, bully us, do whatever they want to. Because after all, it's an inconvenience. When I tell y'all there is a new day coming where this shit will be ending, I promise you on my life, that day is coming. There are some hellraisers fixing to take back over this union and ravage the other side. When I was talking about when I got kicked out of the convention in Chicago, what my business agent should have done is said, hey, I got this, Corey. Get behind me. I've got this. I'm going to handle this. That's how we're going to be when we take back over this union. The city letter carrier, get behind us. We got this. We got this. We're going to have people getting into those meetings that are straight up motherfucking dogs. We will be the alpha in that room again. Not the shit we've got going on right now. We will be the fucking alpha in that room, and they will know on day one that the city letter carrier is priority again. We work for the city letter carrier, and we're tired of them being done this way. We're tired of the bullying and harassing. No more fucking memos. No more of that shit. We're going to take it wherever we've got to take it. Y'all are going to be exposed like you've never been exposed before until somebody says, hey, they're in our ass. They're in our ass. If you're stealing from the city letter carrier, you're gone. Take it up with NAPS. Take it to the MSPB. If you steal from the city letter carrier, you're gone. If we catch you falsifying clock rings, you're gone. We're going to put so much pressure on them, they'll have no other choice. And you can do that. We have an administration now that's scared to talk to the media. I'm not. I'll have them on speed dial. They're anxious to hear what's going on with the Postal Service. They love that shit. To hear the underbelly, the alley type shit that goes on, the gutter type shit that goes on. They're eager to hear that, and I'm going to tell them exactly what's going on. All of these congressmen and senators that we're giving this money to, what are you doing for us besides supporting a bill every 8 or 9 months or a year or two? What are you doing in between then? We're giving you all this fucking money that we keep getting for COLSEP or the Political Action Fund. What are y'all doing with that? You want to earn some money? Here's what you're going to do. You're going to get in our business. You're going to get in our business. I'm telling you that they're stealing from the city letter carrier, and this is what they're doing. And here's the file of the thousands upon thousands of pages of management across this country stealing from the city letter carrier. What are you going to do about it? And if you get any kind of correspondence from the Postal Service, put us in a meeting together. Have us sit in there together. Call some kind of inquiry and let us sit at the table in front of everybody and expose these sorry motherfuckers at the Postal Service. You want to put an end to shit? Raise some shit. That's what you do. You want to put an end to shit? Raise some shit. That's what you do. We have no idea how to do that because we don't have fighters up there. The only fighters we've got have been stripped from their responsibilities. That'll change. That'll change. Y'all see Mr. Caref came out with these new charges against the president about dereliction of duty because his failure on this contract, he's still saying soon, next week. At the convention, he'll send seconds away, minutes away. It's still soon. Do you know why he's doing that? He's under no pressure. He's under no pressure. The executive council is in his pocket. He knows that. He saw that firsthand. So Mr. Caref has put charges up against this sorry motherfucker again for what he's doing as far as the contract or what he's not doing as far as the contract. I'll be anxious to see what the executive council does with this. If not, we'll be hearing it again at the convention in 2026. I hope they do it publicly so we can see the motherfuckers that are in his pocket. Now, a lot of these motherfuckers are going to be on his new ticket, right? And you'll see the real ass kissers on this new ticket. I know some of them that are going to be on there. And so he's losing a lot on this next ticket. So he's going to have to replace some. He's going to put some business agents in there. Some are comical. Some are comical. But it's more of the same. You know, it's more of the same. You've got an executive council right now with business agents that are as compromised as anything I've seen, that are as complacent as anything I've ever seen, that are as cowardly as anything as I've ever seen. And so they're going to get a new ticket. It's kind of just regurgitating the old same shit. It's the same shit. But that's okay. The CLC is coming. The CLC is coming with some rabid fucking dogs. Kick these motherfuckers out and start going on the attack. Start going on the attack. Put the letter carrier behind us and say, hey, we got this. Y'all work. We got this. We're going to educate every fucking level. Every station will have a formidable shop steward under this next administration. How are you going to do that? That's it, you know. Every station will have a formidable shop steward under this next administration. Mark my word. I've never told you anything that wasn't accurate or true. That's coming. That's coming. Every branch president will understand their role as far as protecting the city letter carrier. Every business agent will understand their role as far as education and protecting. That's coming. I promise you. All right. God dang. An hour and 30 minutes. I'm going to read 1 hour of this book because I promised you that. Now, next Sunday, I will not have an episode. It will be next Monday. Okay? Next Monday, I will have an episode. I will be out of town next Sunday, but I will do an episode next Monday. And it's going to be this same stuff, reading from this book, okay? And this is the 2018 NALC Guide to Route Inspections. And it's a damn good book. It's a damn good book. And I'm just going to read the damn thing until it's over. So I'm going to read 1 hour from this book every week. That's just what I'm going to do. As boring as that sounds, it's going to be helpful. I promise you. Just keep listening. Don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep. All right. Section 1, Principles of Route Inspections. So 1:36 right now. So 2 hours and 36. I'm going to stop. God, dog. Each route must be adjusted to as near as 8 hours as possible. The most important principle of the route count and inspection process is that each route must be adjusted to as near 8 hours work per day as possible. This principle is clearly stated in Section 242.122 of the M39 Handbook and Section 911.2 of the M41 Handbook as follows. Now remember, I read those cites to you. When I first started, I read some cites, and that's why. What arbitrators consider to be as close to 8 hours as possible, 8:15, right? You had numerous cites, so go back if you don't remember. On the very first one I did, I read cites as far as remedies, as far as what's acceptable, what arbitrators consider to be acceptable as far as close to 8 hours as possible, 8:15. All right, so that should help you when you're going forward, when you're pulling the work hour workloads after a period of time, showing that routes are 8:30, 8:45. Manager said, hey, we did them as close to 8 hours. Well, here's what the arbitrator's consensus is that as close to 8 hours as possible would be about 8:15. All right. M39 242.122. The proper adjustment of carrier routes means an equitable and feasible division of the work among all the carrier routes assigned to the office. All regular routes should consist of as nearly 8 hours daily work as possible. M41 911.2. The count of mail is used to gather and evaluate data to adjust routes fairly and equitably to ensure that the workload for each route will be as near as possible to an 8-hour workday for the carrier. 2. Only the regular carrier's time is used. If a regular carrier is assigned to a route, only that carrier's times can be used to evaluate and or adjust a route. This principle is clearly stated in Section 241.33 and 241.35 of the M39 Handbook as follows. Now, it's critical. I know some of y'all hate it and want to take leave. It's critical that the regular be on the route for the 6-day count. If at all possible, if you know a 6-day count's coming, you got leave, cancel it. It's critical that the regular carrier be on the route. All right? M39 241.33, bracket the time entries in columns A, B, C, D, and E for the days on which the route was served by a replacement carrier or carrier technician T6 because these figures are to be excluded when entering the figures on the total line for columns A, B, C, D, and E. M39, section 241.35, M, totals line. Enter on this line the totals of columns A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, excluding the times shown for replacement carrier or carrier technician in columns A, B, C, D, and E. The difference between the totals of columns A and B must equal the difference between the totals of columns C and D. Enter on totals line under total pieces delivered, totals of columns 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7 for all days. M39, 241.35 N, 1 through 4. N averages line. 1. Divide the totals for columns A and B by the number of days for which time is recorded for the regular carrier in each column. 2. Compute average under or over standard office time for regular carrier by dividing the difference between the totals of columns C and D by the number of days on which the route was served by the regular carrier. Do not include over or under standard time entries for services performed by replacement carrier or carrier technician. 3. If the total over standard is greater than the total under standard, the resulting average will be average over standard and must be entered into column C. If the total under standard is greater than the total over standard, the resulting average will be average under standard and must be entered in column D. Following is an example of how to compute averages when both over and under time exist. 224 under standard less 37 over standard equals 147, or 107 minutes divided by 5 number of days equals 21 minutes average under standard entered in column D. Now, do y'all get that? They're talking about if you have days where you're over standard and where you're under standard, you're just going to average those days. And that's a lot of talk for that, okay? Divide the total hours and minutes recorded under net street time used. Column E, by the number of days for which time is recorded exclusive of bracketed time used by replacement carrier or carrier technician to obtain the average daily street time used. Now that's what it's talking about. We only use the regular carrier's times. And that's all that was showing is you do not use the replacement carrier, T6 carrier, all right? There's been a lot of confusion about that. Even the route counts coming up, only the regular carrier. 3. Vacant routes. So what should be done with vacant routes? The answer depends on the particular circumstances of each route. For instance, if there is a regular carrier assigned to a route that isn't present during the week of count for any reason, standard office time and the 1840B street time must be used. This is true because of the language discussed above in section 241.3 of the M39. If there is a vacant route with no carrier assigned to it at all, there must be a qualified replacement carrier assigned to the route in order for the data collected to be accepted as valid. Whether or not a qualified replacement was assigned to a route that is truly vacant, has no regular carrier assigned to it during the week of count, is a judgment call that you're going to have to make. Once again, it just depends on the particular circumstances for each route. Let's say you have a carrier that's been holding down the same vacant route for 2 years, and she is assigned to do the route during the week of count. In this example, it'd be hard to argue that she wasn't a qualified replacement. On the other hand, let's say a carrier is assigned to a route during the week of count that she does not perform on a regular basis. Or if it is common knowledge that the carrier doesn't normally take his or her breaks and or works through lunch. In either of these examples, it would be easy to argue that she wasn't a qualified replacement, and that's a great position. If they have a CCA do it because they know this CCA is going to skip their breaks, skip their lunch, that's definitely going to be a contention of ours, all right? That was not a qualified replacement. 4. Route inspector qualifications. And this is a huge one. This is one that we're going to deal with at my station. Any member of the management team may be used for the inspection of routes. However, station managers and delivery supervisors must be included as members of the route inspection team. All managers used must be thoroughly familiar with the inspection procedures and shall be held responsible for the accuracy and completeness of all data assembled by them and for its proper evaluation. M39 section 216.1 and section 216.4. So when it says all managers must be thoroughly familiar with the inspection procedures, we're going to ask for their training. How many 6-day counts have you done? Have you ever even heard of that before? And what they're going to give you is probably a handful of 4584s that they've gone out and observed the carrier. We've been out on 3999 rides with them. We know how to ride with carriers and see what they're doing. That's not what this says. All managers must be thoroughly familiar with the inspection procedures. That's going to be a contention of ours. M39 216, managers' assignments and responsibilities. 216.1, any member of the management team may be used for the inspection of routes. They must be thoroughly familiar with the inspection procedures and shall be held responsible for the accuracy and completeness of all data assembled by them and for its proper evaluation. 216.2, each manager who will be engaged in conducting mail counts and route inspections should be furnished in advance of the start of the count A, list of the numbers of the routes assigned to the examiner. B, day and date selected for the inspection of each route. C, reporting times of the carriers on the route scheduled for inspection. D, transportation information. E, arrangements for lunch on the routes to be inspected. F, copy of standard operating procedures, flow charts, special instructions for the unit. 216.3, all available city delivery managers must be assigned to participate in this work so that the counts and inspections may be completed at each unit in the shortest possible time. 216.4, in stations and branches, managers and or their assistants and delivery supervisors must be included as members of the route inspection team. However, when their unit is being inspected, they should conduct normal office and street management activities and analyze route inspection data and correct any deficiencies noted. 5, 52-day time limit for adjustments. All route adjustments must be placed in effect within 52 days of the last day of the week of count and inspection unless a valid exception has been granted. This principle is explained in section 211.3 of the M39 handbook as follows. M39 211.3. In selecting the count period, remember that all route adjustments must be placed in effect within 52 calendar days of the completion of the mail count, and no major scheme changes should be made between the period November 15th and January 1. Exceptions must be approved by the district manager in accordance with a memorandum of understanding dated July 21, 1987, related to special count and inspection city delivery routes. The local unit will be notified promptly of any exceptions granted. An important item to consider when granting an exception is the different types of relief laid out in section 243.21b. What is a valid exception? This issue was resolved with national level settlement M1072, which states in relevant part. M1072. 1. If the results of any route inspection indicate that the route is to be adjusted, such adjustment must be placed in effect within 52 calendar days of the completion of the mail count in accordance with section 211.3 of the M39 Methods Handbook. Exceptions may be granted by a division general manager only when warranted by valid operational circumstances, substantiated by a detailed written statement which shall be submitted to the local union within 7 days of the grant of the exception. Valid exceptions to the 52-day time limit for adjustments have to meet all the following criteria. They must be granted by the district manager. They must be warranted by a valid operational reason. They must be accompanied by a detailed statement explaining the reasons for the exception, written notice of, and the detailed reason for the exception must be provided to the local union within 7 days from the granting of the exception. 6. Multiple days of inspection. Management may schedule a route for inspection on no more than 3 days during the week of route count and inspection. Management will complete the Form 1838C on only one of the days scheduled for inspection. The letter carrier will count the mail and complete the Form 1838C on the other days of inspection. When local management elects to inspect on 2 or 3 days, the Form 3999 closest to the selected street time on the left side of the Form 1840 reverse will be used to transfer territory. These principles are set forth in the Memorandum of Understanding regarding multiple days of inspection contained in the National Agreement. The MOU is reproduced in its entirety on the next page. Memorandum of Understanding between the United States Postal Service and the National Association of Letter Carriers, AFL-CIO, regarding multiple days of inspection. The following will apply when conducting a 6-day route count and inspection pursuant to Chapter 2 of Handbook M39. Management will, if it determines if necessary, when scheduling an inspection to inspect on more than 1 day, inspect on no more than 3 days during the week of count and inspection. If management elects to inspect on 2 or 3 days during the week of count and inspection, management will be responsible for completion of the 1838C one of the days. The letter carrier will count the mail and complete the 1838C on the other days of inspection. When management elects to inspect on 2 or 3 days, the PS Form 3999, closest to the selected street time on the PS Form 1840, will be used to transfer territory. 7. Exclude Saturday on routes with abbreviated or no Saturday delivery. Saturday is excluded from the count week on routes with abbreviated or no delivery on Saturday. This principle is stated in Section 221.11 of the M39 Handbook and Section 921.21 of the M41 Handbook as follows. M39, 221.11, Schedule. The count of mail on all letter delivery routes, regular and auxiliary, must be for 6 consecutive delivery days on one-trip routes and for 5 consecutive delivery days, exclusive of Saturday, on 2-trip routes or one-trip routes with abbreviated or no delivery on Saturday. It is not mandatory that mail counts begin on Saturday and continue through Friday, so long as they are made on consecutive delivery days. M41, 921.2, Schedule. 921.21, the count of mail period on all letter delivery routes, both regular and auxiliary, shall be A, for 6 consecutive delivery days on one-trip routes, and B, for 5 consecutive delivery days exclusive of Saturday on multiple trip routes or one-trip routes with abbreviated or no delivery on Saturday. 921.22, it is not mandatory that mail counts begin on Monday and continue through Saturday, but they must be made on consecutive delivery days. Now remember that when we're dealing with abbreviated delivery on Saturday, because what management used to do back in 6-day counts before all these route adjustment processes, joint route adjustment processes, is that they would try to dupe the carrier and they'd say, hey, the abbreviated delivery we have to take out, but we're also going to take out Monday, the next highest day, because it's only fair that if we take out the abbreviated delivery, we also should take out that Monday because you're taking all that mail back out. So we're going to take out the lightest day and the heaviest day. No such language. No such language. Remember that. If you're dealing with that, and especially some of these smaller stations where they think that they can get away with it because you're a smaller branch, they may think that you're not as educated, where they try to pull a lot of this shit. So they're going to say, hey, you got this, downtown route. It's abbreviated on Saturday, so we're going to take out the Monday too because it's so heavy. Make sure we grieve that, all right? 8, discipline for not making standards. Office time. No letter carrier can be disciplined for simply not making standard. There must be a showing of unsatisfactory effort. This showing must be based on documented, unacceptable conduct that led to the carrier's failure to meet office standards. M39, Section 242.332. M39, 242.332. No carrier shall be disciplined for failure to meet standards, except in cases of unsatisfactory effort, which must be based on documented, unacceptable conduct that led to the carrier's failure to meet office standards. Street time. There are no street standards. In national level settlement M304, the parties agreed there is no set pace at which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking. This language was reinforced in September 16, 2011, national level settlement M1769. The relevant language from these two settlements is shown below. M304. In keeping with the principle of a fair day's work for a fair day's pay, it is understood that there is no set pace at which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking. M1769. There is no set pace at which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking. These settlements are reproduced in their entirety on the next 2 pages. Now, here's something that somebody reached out to me and they said that a examiner had written down on their thing that the carrier needs to increase their pace. That's what they wrote down when they talk about waiting time. I had these remarks. The carrier needs to increase their pace. These things are perfect for that. So you'll see a lot of that when management attempts to go after us. Because here's the thing. These examiners have never seen us. They have never been on our route. They have never accompanied us on a 39.99. They're all new. They're coming from out of town mostly. And they're going to put them up in some hotel for the week, buy their meals and all these things. That's why it's the single greatest expense that they have is 6-day counts. These people will come in. You've never seen them. They've never seen you. And they're going to follow you on your route, and they're going to tell you you're not going fast enough. They don't know how you've delivered that route all year long. They have no idea. They don't know if you put it in neutral at every park like postal policy tells you to do. That's postal policy, that you put the vehicle in neutral on level ground, in park on inclines and declines. You put it in neutral at every stop. They don't know if you've ever done that before. They've never seen you. They don't know your pace. As long as one foot is going in front of the other, that's all you're required to do. There's no street standard. There's no set pace at which a carrier must walk. You know what that means? There's no set pace. And these examiners have no idea who you are and how you do for that year. Y'all get me? So here's M304, MZ304. Each of these cases, and they had a set of cases above that, which I'm not going to read, involve a disciplinary action as a result of route management. In keeping with the principle of a fair day's work for a fair day's pay, it is understood that there is no set pace at which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking. Therefore, these cases are being managed to the regional level of arbitration with a clear agreement between the parties that these cases are to be arbitrated at the regional level. Here's 1769, and it talks about DOAS. After reviewing the matter, we mutually agreed to settle the agreements as follows. The subject office efficiency tool is a management tool for estimating a carrier's daily workload. Talking about DOAS, we're talking about PET, all these things are tools for estimating a carrier's daily workload, right? The office efficiency tool used in the Greater Indiana District or any similar time projection system tool will not be used as the sole determinant for establishing office or street time projections. Accordingly, the resulting projections will not constitute the sole basis for corrective action. This agreement does not change the principle that, pursuant to Section 242.332 of the M39 Handbook, no carrier shall be disciplined for failure to meet standards, except in cases of unsatisfactory effort, which must be based on documented, unacceptable conduct that led to the carrier's failure to meet office standards. Furthermore, as stated in the agreement for case there is no set pace at which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking. Projections are not the sole determinant of a carrier's leaving or return time or daily workload. We talked about in the 3996 episodes, right? The use of any management-created system or tool that calculates a workload projection does not change the letter carrier's reporting requirements outlined in Section 134 of the Handbook M41. Supervisor scheduling responsibility outlined in Section 122 of the Handbook M39, or the letter carrier and supervisor responsibilities contained in Section 28 of Handbook M41. So this one says, furthermore, as stated in the agreement for this case, there is no set pace at which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking. And any M document like this is nationwide. Here's why I say that. We've got a dumbass as our DRT person for management. She is unethical. She has no idea what she's talking about. She's straight management. But she said that because this is from the Greater Indiana District, it only applies to the Greater Indiana District. Swear to God. I swear to God that she said that. We put this in one of our contentions, and she said, this is from the Greater Indiana District. It does not apply to Nashville, Tennessee. That's what she said. Had no clue that this M document is nationwide, and it's binding. So just make sure, DRT, that's probably you're going to hear this dumbass argument. All right, 9. Canceling route inspections. Management may cancel a route inspection. If the cancellation is not for the entire unit, management is required to discuss the cancellation with the carriers concerned. If the cancellation is for the entire unit, it must be discussed with the shop steward. M39, Section 233. M39, 233, canceling inspection. 233.1. When the continuation of any inspection would serve no useful purpose, the inspection may be canceled at management's discretion. A cancellation may apply to an entire delivery unit or to one or more routes of a group of routes being inspected. 233.2. Following are some items which could bring about consideration for cancellation. A. Natural disasters or extreme weather conditions. B. Unscheduled extended absence of the full-time carrier coupled with the absence of a qualified replacement. To the extent reasonable and practicable, the regular carrier assigned to the route shall undergo the inspection. C. Unrealistic mail volume. That's never stopped them before. Either abnormal or subnormal, which could prohibit a fair evaluation of the route. They will never do that. We will always have to bring that up in our contentions, that the mail volume was subnormal. Unavailability of public transportation where normally used by carriers. 233.3. Any cancellation made must be discussed with the carrier concerned, giving the reasons. When the cancellation is for the entire unit, the discussion must be with the unit steward. Section 2. Before the week of count and inspection, the postmaster or designee is responsible for seeing that advanced preparations are made for mail counts and route inspections and that they are coordinated with all managers concerned. M39, Section 212.1. M39, 212, responsibility for advanced preparations. 212.1. The postmaster or designee is responsible for seeing that advanced preparations are made for mail counts and route inspections and that they are coordinated with all managers concerned. 1. Unit and route review. On at least an annual basis, management is required to make a route and unit review. Now, this is where we're going to get them, right? Because we've been under TRAP. They're going to come after us. We were not prepared. They were busy educating themselves on 6-day counts well in advance with TRAP being done away with those managements, with those memos being done away with, right? Management was already in Dallas educating themselves. We were doing nothing. We had nothing from our president saying, hey, look, these memos more than likely are going to be terminated. Business agents, get out there and start educating the members on 6-day counts. We didn't do that. We failed ourselves miserably. Just like when these memos came into effect, they should have said, we're fixing to sign the dumbest memos ever. Make sure that the carriers are aware of these memos and educate them on the memos. Remember, I had to read the damn memos on these episodes, as boring as that was, just so people could hear the memos. When a memo is fixing to be signed, there needs to be some form of information sent out to the carrier to say, we're going to sign some dumb shit. Get yourselves ready. And so here we have them. There's supposed to be an annual basis on a unit route review. They've not done that anywhere in this country, I guarantee you, because of TRAP. So we have them there. We can say there's been no annual unit route review here. So it's required to make a route and unit review. M39 211.1. In order to achieve and maintain an appropriate daily workload for delivery units and routes, management will make at least annual route and unit reviews consisting of an analysis of items listed in Section 214 and work hours, volumes, and possible deliveries. Items listed in Section 213 may also be utilized in the review. These reviews will be utilized to verify adjustments which have been taken by management or need to be taken by management in order to maintain efficient service. The results of the review will be shared with the local NALC president or designee and the regular letter carriers serving the routes that require adjustments. In some units, it may be necessary to proceed with mail counts and route inspections on one or more routes. These inspections will be conducted between the first week of September and May 31st, excluding December. That'll be an easy grievance for you. And the more grievances you can file initially, when you file the big one that comes back after the adjustment, and you say, here's our routes that are out of adjustment, and also look at these grievances we've included to show from the very onset they fucked us up. That's what JB has on my station. We've already got about 4 or 5 grievances, just initially. And then we'll file the big one after the adjustments and say, from the very beginning, they fucked this route inspection up. All of these grievances have already been adjudicated in our favor based off of these fuck-ups. So this would be a very good one to file initially. There's been no unit and route review. They've not done any of these things as prescribed in M39 211.1, okay? M39 Section 214 lists the minimum items to be reviewed and analyzed. Any unsatisfactory conditions found during the review should be corrected prior to the week of route count and inspection. This is M39 214, Review of Operating Procedures. All operations at the delivery unit should be reviewed, and any unsatisfactory conditions should be corrected before the count is commenced. The review should include at least A. Letter routes. 1. Schedule reporting and leave times in relation to arrival time of mail at the unit and public transportation schedules. 2. Adequacy of carrier case equipment and condition of carrier case labels. See Exhibit 126.5, Review of carrier case and work area. 3. Volume of preferential mail received on each dispatch prior to the carrier's leaving time. 4. Amount of missent, misthrown mail distributed to carriers. 5. Whether all approved segmentations of mail are being made up in the most efficient manner practicable. 6. Handling of accountable and signature mail by carriers at central markup offices. At the largest installations receiving a large amount of accountables and signature mail for delivery, local managers may make an exception allowing carriers to mark up this mail if accountable clerks are unable to expedite rehandling of the pieces in clearing carriers of proper responsibility. 7. Review of carrier route book to determine if A. Form 1564A, all items completed. Now, they're hustling through these things now. You see a lot of that going on. B. Forms 1564B and 3982, posted on a current basis. See Exhibit 126.5. C. Edit book and or Form 1621, completed to show current number of deliveries. See Exhibit 128.21, Delivery Management Report. 8. Review DPS handling procedures. So all those things must be done, okay? 2. Share results of unit and route review with union and the carriers. Management is required to share the results of the unit and route reviews with the local NALC president or designee. Management must also share the results of the review with the regular carrier serving any routes that require adjustment. M39 Section 211.1. M39 211.1. In order to achieve and maintain an appropriate daily workload for delivery units and routes, management will make at least annual route and unit reviews consisting of an analysis of items listed in Section 214 and work hours, volumes, and possible deliveries. Items listed in Section 213 may also be utilized in the review. These reviews will be utilized to verify adjustments which have been taken by management or need to be taken by management in order to maintain efficient service. The results of the review will be shared with the local NALC president or designee and the regular letter carriers serving the routes that require adjustments. In some units, it may be necessary to proceed with mail counts and route inspections on one or more routes. These inspections will be conducted between the first week of September and May 31st, excluding December. Branch presidents or their designees should remain alert to and enforce this requirement. If route count and inspections have been scheduled, but no unit and route reviews results have been shared, investigate and grieve if necessary. 100% of y'all are going to grieve this. The specific items that must be reviewed include processes that can have a significant impact on letter carriers' working conditions. For instance, casing equipment or labels may be inadequate or in poor condition. If so, the unit and route review should bring any unsatisfactory conditions to management's attention in a formal way. If management refuses to correct situations like this, investigate, document the case, and grieve as appropriate. Now remember, even if all these things are great, our case labels are great, all this stuff is done, and we have nothing of any importance, management will contend that. They'll say, hey, we're supposed to do this, but nothing's happened. They've got great case labels. Their equipment's fine. There's nothing on their route that needs to be brought attention to. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. It says the results of the review will be shared. It doesn't say might be shared or should be shared. It says the results of the review will be shared. So the results of the review may be, hey, nothing's changed. Case labels, everything's in. That's fine. But you will have a unit and route review with me. If that's not done, grieve it. And it's a simple cease and desist. Cease and desist against that. Because like I said, we're going to have a lot of grievances we're going to have in this main grievance, right? All these grievances that we're going to file now will be adjudicated probably before the implementation and the review period, okay? Branch officers should be aware that letter carriers were advised in Chapter 1 of the NALC Route Protection Program that the unit and route review constitutes an opportunity for them to discuss any unsatisfactory conditions with their managers. They are also advised to contact their shop stewards if they are scheduled for route count and inspections, but management has not shared the results of the prior unit and route review with them. Like I said, 100% are going to grieve that. 3, schedule the count and inspection period in advance. Management is required to determine the period selected for the week of route count inspection as far in advance as possible and notify the union of the advance schedule. If management later changes the period, the local union should be notified of the revised schedule as far in advance as practicable. M39 Section 211.2. M39 211.2. The period selected for the mail count and route inspection should be determined as far in advance as possible, and the local union should be notified of this schedule. If it is necessary to change the period, the local union should be notified of the revised schedule as far in advance as practicable. As a general principle, it is the union's interest to receive such notification in writing. While the language in Section 211.2 of the M39 Handbook does not specify how the notification must be made, normal and customary business practice would call for written notification. If management gives only verbal notification, branch officers could consider documenting the notification by written request for confirmation. 4. Specific notice requirements. Schedule of mail count and inspection. Management is required to post a notice showing the beginning date for the count for each route and the day and date each route is scheduled for inspection. This notice must be posted at least 5 working days before the start of the count. If the decision is made to change the day of inspection, 1 day's advance notice must be given. M39 Section 215.1. Now, that's another easy one. If they don't put it up within 5 working days, grieve it and a simple cease and desist. Okay? Like I said, we're trying to generate as many grievances as possible. That's the good thing about the 6-day count. A lot of people hate them. We can grieve it. We can grieve it. I can't grieve TRAP. If they come in and fuck us over, you appeal it and it goes into a black hole of appeals. And so anything I can grieve, I love. Anything I cannot grieve, I hate. Because the only one who files grievances is the city letter carrier. Management does not file a grievance against us. We file a grievance against them. And when you take away my right to grieve, it only hurts me. It never hurts the service because they do not file grievances. M39 215 posting notice of scheduled mail count and inspection. 215.1 A notice must be posted at the delivery unit in advance of the scheduled mail counts and route inspections, showing the beginning date of the count for each route and the day and date each route is scheduled for inspection. This notice must be posted at least 5 working days before the start of the count period. If a decision is made to inspect on days other than the scheduled date, 1 day's advance notice must be given. 215.2 No later than the Wednesday preceding the count week, carrier schedules shall be posted for those routes requiring an earlier start time to count the mail. Carrier schedule of early start times. No later than the Wednesday preceding the count week, carrier schedule shall be posted for those routes requiring an earlier starting time to count the mail. M39 Section 215.2. 5. Drawing lots for 7-week random time card analysis, PS Form 1840B. One of the 2 options for street time selection is an 8-week carrier time card analysis. This is commonly referred to as the Form 1840B, street time. The information is entered on Form 1840B to determine the average street time over 8 weeks. The first 7 weeks are selected using the procedures described below, and the 8th week used is the week after the route count and inspection. Instructions for completing 1840B are located on page 22. For a detailed description of Form 1840B, see pages 91 to 100 in the Forms Description section of this guide. Within the 4 weeks prior to the week of route count inspections, the local union representative will make a random drawing of numbered lots 1 through 4 to be used in determining the 7 random weeks to be selected for the Form 1840B, M39 Section 242.32A. M39 242.323 Selection of the 7 weeks for the random time card analysis shall be based on the following. A. Within 4 weeks prior to the week of count and inspection, the local union representative will make a random drawing of numbered lots from 1 to 4 to be used in determining the 7 random weeks to be selected for all routes at the delivery unit. This is normally as simple as taking 4 pieces of paper, marking the first 1, the second 2, the third 3, and the fourth 4, placing them in a hat, and then having the union president or shop steward draw them one at a time. The order in which the numbers are drawn becomes the random lot selection order. Drawing random lots is important because the times developed may be used for street time evaluations and adjustments. After the random lot drawing, corresponding weeks and up to 7 months preceding the month of the route count inspection, excluding June, July, August, and December, are selected. For example, if the random lot selection order is 2314 and the count week is March 2012, you count back 7 months, excluding June, July, August, and December. You then apply the selected order beginning with the oldest month as shown in the chart below. So you'll have the month April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, and March. You'll exclude June, July, and August, and December. So you count back 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Those would be the months. So April would be 7, May would be 6. You exclude June, July, and August. So September will be 5, October will be 4, November will be 3. You exclude December. January will be 2, February will be 1. So you apply the selected orders. Whatever you draw is what you would apply. So if you draw 1, then that's your first week. Okay, so on. So that chart's in there. Note, this rotation is applied even if less than 7 months are available by continuing into additional weeks of the previously used months. However, if only 2 or 4 months are available, the random lot number order must be reversed after the first 4 weeks are selected to avoid repetition of the weeks already chosen. The first week of a month begins with the first Saturday of the month, M39 section 242.323C. M39 242.323C. If only 2 or 4 months are available for the time card analysis, the random lot numbers must be reversed after the first 4 week selection, i.e. 2314, used for the first 4 weeks of the available months, then 413 for the remaining 3 weeks of the available month. See month 4 example below. The first week of a month will begin with the first Saturday of the month. If the count week falls in 2 months, the later month will be considered the count month for the purpose of selecting the 7 random weeks, M39 242.323D. If the regular carrier was not servicing the route on at least one of the days of a schedule selected, the next available week in which the carrier served at least 1 day shall be used for the 7-week period, M39 section 242.323D. M39 242.323D. Should the count week fall in 2 months, the later month will be considered the count month for the purpose of selecting the 7 weeks random time card analysis. If the regular carrier was not serving the route on at least one of the days of the week so selected, or if conditions during the week were obviously abnormal so as to justify that week being excluded from the 7 weeks random time card analysis, the next available week in which the carrier so served at least 1 day shall be used for the 7 weeks period. If 7 such weeks do not exist, the maximum number of such weeks available will be used for the regular time card analysis of street time. And that's where I'm going to stop for today. We're right at an hour. And so we'll get back to that. Hopefully that helps. I think it's great stuff. If you listen to it, kind of get it explained. 6-day counts are intricate, very intricate. But man, if you get it down and become an expert at that, you are a money maker and a ultimate headache to management. Nothing better than a Section 2 6-day count. I think it's a great process. It stood the test of time. It benefits us. I know it's a headache to have management in there for 6 days just watching and not doing shit, but it's a great process, and we've won a lot of money on 6-day count grievances because management ultimately, this is what happens here. You got headquarters. They've used DSR, and I know that for a fact, to determine which stations are going to be gone into, like my station. There's an email stating that headquarters wants 32 hours, 4 routes out of my station. So I've gone through TRAP. Nothing through TRAP has identified my station as needing any kind of adjustment. The first thing that happens when they do away with TRAP and they do a 6-day count is they're going to say that my station needs 4 routes taken out. Now, how did I go through TRAP? Nothing being shown. And then you get headquarters saying, I want 32 routes from Corey Walton Station. You understand what's going on. You've already got them because ultimately, it's all about money. They don't care about doing anything right. They want that money. They want those savings. If I was national, I'd be raising hell at the 6-day counts, and I'd be educating because every route is a person. The reason that they have backed these S&DCs, national, that they were not contesting these, thank God you have people up in Brooklyn, like Mr. Groskopf, who have fought like hell against the S&DC and won. National does not want to fight S&DCs because they don't care about the inconvenience to the carrier, because there's going to be more routes put in. More routes put in means more revenue for the NALC, and all they care about is money right now. It's not about the city letter carrier, it's about money. So anything that's going to bring them more money, they're for it. So S&DCs are going to bring them more money because they're going to have to adjust routes because of all the travel time. So they're for it. As much as it affects the city letter carrier negatively, they're for it. The 6-day counts affect the carrier negatively because it takes away routes. You would think that they'd be up in arms about that. But secretly, I think that there are certain individuals that want to see routes taken out so they can say, see, told you, TRAP was working. See what happened now? They came and took routes. TRAP was working. My baby was working this TRAP that cost so much money, so much time to implement. All the hard work that went into TRAP for it to become an ultimate failure had to chap some asses. So they may be in great delight about the 6-day count, but I like 6-day counts because I can grieve it, like I said, and we've won a shitload of money off of 6-day counts. So next Monday, I'll get back into that. We'll read some more of that, okay? And I'm hoping that that's helping. I think it should. It kind of exposes you to the totality of the 6-day count. A lot of people continue to talk about me as being divisive. I will continue to be that. And I don't care. I hate where my union is at right now. And as a city letter carrier of 32 years, I have that right. If you've been here a week, you have that right. Because we are not representing our members with this current administration. And I'm pissed off about it. And I will stay pissed off about it until we replace them. And that's just how I'm going to be. If you don't want to listen to me, you don't have to listen to me, man. This is free of charge. There's no requirement. There's no sign up, right? It's not mandatory. I'm going to be on here bitching all the time because I'm pissed off at how my union is doing our city letter carriers, how they've abandoned us. And it pisses me the fuck off. And so I will continue to raise hell about my union. And that's just who I am. That's exactly how I'm going to be until we can replace them, right? I do not like that my carriers are being negatively affected by the incompetence and cowardice of my union. I do not like it. That's not how I was raised. That's not how I was brought up in the union under Pete Moss. That's not how I was raised. I was raised that you fight everything. You fight these motherfuckers tooth and nail. And we have not done that, and the carrier is hurting and suffering because of it. And so every week, if I have to, I will bitch. I'll bitch about it. Until we get the alphas back in those rooms against labor at every level, until the alphas have taken back over, I'm going to bitch. Because we do not have alphas in there right now. We have bendovers and ass kissers. And that's what we have as far as our union leadership right now. So, and that's the reason I'm supporting the CLC. I know Mr. Henry. And I know his plan. And he's everywhere he goes, he talks about his plan. He'll be on here again. He is on Mr. Speakman's podcast, Fed Up, talking about his plan. And I'm behind it 100%. I'm about it. I'm about the action of whipping ass. And so, and that's his plan. And so I'm behind that 100%. I'm for straight dogs. And that's what we need. So, if you don't like it, man, I don't apologize. I don't apologize. We got too many people out there suffering right now that are not being educated and helped. They're abandoned. Our business agents are full of shit. They're cowardly. And our president is asleep at the wheel. And our executive vice president is in bed with labor. And we're fucked. You know, here's the thing, and then I'll be off air. It's getting late. Regardless of what you think about the longshoremen on their strike, about the docks when they were going to strike, I know that there were some political figures coming out saying that they don't have any remorse for the longshoremen because they're willing to shut down the country for 50%. They turned down 50%, and they thought that was greedy. Then you have their president come out, and people were taking shots at him about his glasses, how expensive, and his jewelry, how expensive. It makes $800,000 a year, I think they said, taking shots at him. What kind of union is that? Let me tell you something, and this is what I found striking. When I say that you put the city letter carrier first and everything else will fall into place, you have a passionate love affair for the city letter carrier. If you have that, you'll succeed, no matter what people think about you. People saying, well, Congress may not like us if we ask for that. Fuck everybody outside of the NALC. You put the city letter carrier first and let them see you fighting, and they will back you 100%, whether we fail or not. If you put us first and we see you fight, we've got your back. We don't see that. Here's what the president of the longshoremen said. I will shut down this country for my people. That's what he said on TV if you saw it. He said, I'll shut down this country until my people get what they want. You know what he's doing there? He's putting his people first above everything else. He put his people first above everything else. That's what he did. And people are coming out against him. I say hooray for that guy, regardless of what you think about him. He said, I'm going to put my people first. I'll shut down the whole motherfucker. Then he said, you got these bastards making billions of dollars. That's exactly what he said. You got these bastards making billions of dollars, and my people are barely making a living wage. That's what he said on national TV when all those reporters were around him. He said, I'll shut this entire country down for my people. You got these bastards making billions of dollars. Didn't even get to a day of strike, I don't think. Got a 60% increase. Put the city letter carrier first. Don't care about anything else. Everything else will fall into place. You have our president and executive vice president saying that when you go to these rallies, don't say anything negative about the Postal Service. Don't say anything negative about the Postal Service. We don't want them to think unfavorably about us. Fuck that. Fuck that. Here you have the longshoreman president saying these bastards are making billions of dollars. You know why? He wants the public to know the working conditions that we're under. You got these bastards making billions of dollars. Fat cats. You got my people barely making a living wage. He put them first. He said, I'll shut the whole country down. We need leadership like that says, hey, we will shut it all down. We'll shut it all down. My carriers, they come first to me. That's what you're going to have in James Henry. My carriers, I'll shut it all down. These bastards are making billions of dollars. I don't care about the reports they tell y'all in the news when they're spreading all this misinformation about how much we've lost. Look at the books. Look at where it's going. Look at how much fat is in here. That's the reason I appreciated the president, the postmaster general that came in, Marvin Runyon, when he said, if you're not touching the mail, be worried about your job. And started carving fat. Do that, and then come to me. But anyway, I thought it funny that people were attacking that longshoreman president, and here's a dude that said, I'll shut the whole country down because I put my people first. I will put them first. They're not making a living wage. And you got these bastards, and point it over there, you got these bastards making billions. We're in the same boat. But we have a president that's in bed with those motherfuckers at the top. Almost 600 days without a contract. It's coming soon. This kumbaya ain't making us a penny. If y'all think that waiting 500 days is accelerated or escalated what we're making, you're fools. This dude is inexperienced, unqualified, and we're reaping the whirlwind because of that. Give me the guy that stands out there and says, I'll shut everything down for my people. And these bastards over here making billions can kiss our asses. We'll shut it down. That's coming. That's coming. All right. Y'all have a fantastic rest of the week. I will talk to y'all next Monday. We're going to get back into the 6-day count. I'll read some more to you, all right? So hopefully that wasn't too bad. I love each and every one of you, man. Even those that hate my guts, I love you because you're a brother or a sister to me. And I will fight for you. I will fight. If you spit in my face, motherfucker, I'll be the first one in line to kick somebody's ass if they're fucking with you. That's the passion I have for the city letter carrier, man. That's the passion I have for my brothers and sisters. I will fight like hell for you. I'll be the first one in line. We need that. We need more of that. We need more of that. All right. I love you. Y'all have a fantastic week, and I'll talk to y'all next Monday. All right?